I'm gonna kill myself. I was muted. I'm so sorry. I guess I get to redo the intro. This is awful. Um, I'm doing really great. Once Hi there. Welcome to Culture Wargames, a show that explains the dumbest right-wing culture panic of the week. I am Kat Abagazale, and as I said before when I was muted, this is my first episode, so y'all legally have to be nice. This week, we're going to talk about the very real, radical, woke social experiments happening in our military with Washington Post Games reporter Gene Park, and then talk about Doge and some of the very sensible cuts to our government with Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. But before we do that, let's revisit some of the dumbest and most dangerous news of the week. White House parasite Elon Musk did what legally seems to be a Nazi salute from behind the presidential podium during the inauguration day. Let's look at the clip. I'm doing this by myself today, guys, just by the way. This was very short notice. Fantastic. Once again, short notice. Far right counts got really excited about this, and I think that says a lot. But more mainstream conservative figures immediately tried to justify this for normies. We got a lot of great explanations. He's autistic, he's awkward, he's autistic and awkward. He's just showing the audience his gratitude. But it wasn't just online pundits. I think that this entire thing really showed us what legacy media will be like in the Trump administration. Major publications immediately bowed down using passive language that's often only reserved for police and the Israeli military. Um, but my favorite thing was probably this headline from the New York Times, the paper of record. I need a producer, y'all. Elon Musk ignites online speculation over the meaning of a hand gesture. Uh, you would think this type of coverage would be great, but you would also think, even with that, that he would probably try to assure people that no, it wasn't a Nazi salute. What are you talking about? I'm definitely not a fan of that type of thing. But instead, we got a three-pronged approach. First off, he posted a lot of pictures of famous people with their arms at an angle because that's clearly the issue. Then he melted down over Wikipedia existing. And then finally, he tripled down in what is honestly one of the most weird but unhinged tweets I've seen from him. I don't even think I need to read it. This is just, I don't understand how you would make a Nazi salute or what seems to be one and then tweet this shit. I'm not showing up on Twitch. I'm doing great. This is fantastic. Sam, you sure? Okay, we're just going to keep going. You would think Musk would have backtracked, but he didn't. But I personally say that for this suggestion, if what he did wasn't a Nazi salute, then do it at work tomorrow. I think that was my favorite commentary on all of this. Our second news of the week is the bishopess. The Episcopalian Church is now the Episcowokian Church after a bishop publicly pleaded with Trump to have compassion for migrants and trans people. This was a brave moment of public dissent, but far more importantly, we had to read the word wokescapalian with our own two eyes, and I just don't think that's fair. Give me 1 sec while I try to do technical difficulties. Once again, this was difficult. I'm on Twitch? Okay, fantastic. Great. Amazing. Finally, Trump has issued an executive order for the government to only recognize two genders, man and woman, which cannot be changed. Personally, I feel like there are more important things, but this might genuinely fix the economy. I don't know. This is obviously horrible for trans people, but it's a huge moment for Matt Walsh because now we know what a woman is. According to the US government, a female is a person belonging to, at conception, the sex that produces the larger reproductive cell, because using the terms egg and sperm is too controversial. I think if you're going to rant about biology, you don't deserve to do so if you tremble at the word ovary. But that brings me to the main topic of the week, where Gene will come in just a moment. There he is. Hi, Gene. How you doing?
Hey, Kat.
Thank you. Hopefully technical difficulties are over. I know this was so embarrassing for everyone, but most of all, me. How are you?
No, that's the magic of Twitch. You have no idea how many, for anyone who's new to Twitch broadcasts, that's pretty much, routine on Twitch. You're always checking sound, you're always checking video. Things always mess up. So,
Amazing. Yeah, the only time I've streamed is like on YouTube, and that's going through like meticulously practiced beforehand. And this was originally just like a dummy script, and then this shit happened with Elizabeth Warren. And so I said, why not try it this week? And so thank you
Mhm.
for showing up on short notice, and thank you for everyone for bearing with us.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate everyone. And thanks to everyone for watching. Hi, everyone. Hi,
Yeah, hi
chat.
everyone. You're great. Um, so let's talk about wokeness in DEI. What do you think about wokeness in DEI, Gene?
In general,
Yeah,
the discourse around it,
yeah.
it's sad. I really, really didn't. I really hope that it wasn't going to become a thing. I am a former president of the Asian American Journalists Association in Hawaii and Washington D.C. So, and it's a journalism organization that makes sure that there is good Asian representation and Pacific Islander representation, of which I am both, because I'm Korean and from Guam. So, I don't claim Pacific Islander blood, but I'm natively from there. So make sure that there's good representation in the media and in the stories that we tell. And keeping the media accountable for making sure that we don't say terrible racist things in our stories. Um, and a lot of people don't seem to understand the mission of affinity groups like this. It's not about wiping out any other kind of representation at all. It's just making sure that the one we do have is good.
But have you ever considered that it actually means white people shouldn't exist?
No, I mean that's one of the things. Like that's one of the things that really rubbed me the wrong way about Tucker Carlson early. Like long with like
You
several
don't like
years
Tucker
before.
Carlson? Gene,
No,
what the
well,
hell?
I heard you might be a fan, so I don't know.
Oh, me? Of course.
Yeah, you're an expert, right? But one of his rants, several years ago, I think like 2015 or something like that, was he was ranting and railing about groups like the Asian American Journalists Association and the National Association for Black Journalists. Um, and he was going on a rant, assuming that white people aren't allowed, and that is ridiculous. We
I
have
mean,
board members who are white. It's just people who want to be part of something cool. That's
look,
it.
it makes a lot of sense to say that white people are at a disadvantage when you're the number one cable news host on the most popular cable channel in the country. That just makes a lot of sense. Um, do you know exactly like what DEI is?
Yeah, diversity, equity, inclusion.
Fantastic. I was hoping you would say no so we could explain it to anyone who doesn't, but thank you for playing along. So, as you said, DEI stands for diversity, equity, inclusion. And basically, these are like guidelines that you'll see at a lot of companies, NGOs, and in some governments. Uh, Essentially, the idea is that we don't want to prioritize just like white men, because a lot of places, whether consciously or not, will hire people based on their own preconceived biases. Even from if you're a capitalist, this makes sense. Like if you want a bigger consumer base, it makes sense to have like more Black employees or like more women. I mean, the way that things are marketed to women, you can tell when the advertising team is just a bunch of guys. Um, but this is now like the biggest target of the Trump administration so far, besides, all the vulnerable people. But I think that kind of goes in the same category.
Mhm.
Um, so I think my favorite example of this, at least recently, is the panic over Boeing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. I have I have a deep fear of flying. That's only grown as I've gotten older because I've learned that life is very precious and I want to hold on to it. And the idea of flying 50,000 feet in the air, miles in the air in a tube is terrifying. But yes, I've heard all about Boeing and everything. So
So do
please
you
tell
know
me.
that it's actually not Boeing, it's Black pilots that are
Sure.
doing all
Of
this?
course. Yeah. Black
Yeah.
engineers too. The
Black
breaking
engineers,
everything.
because it's DEI. They obviously hire these people just based on their skin color, and that's why the doors fly off of the planes.
Mhm,
That we're making connections here.
mhm.
This was a huge thing last year, to the point that I mean, I can't remember who said it the other day, but someone was like, I don't want to get on a plane if a woman's flying, which is just incredible quote. And I
Mhm.
hope that everyone tries to go into the cockpit to check when they go on a plane. That will end well every time. Um, it turns out that's actually bullshit. It's because of shoddy cuts by the C-suite and at Boeing that these planes are failing constantly, and that we're all terrified to go on one. But that doesn't matter to the right. And this type of thinking is exactly what's inspired Trump to institute already a bunch of like DEI or anti-DEI executive orders.
Mhm.
Every federal DEI employee has already been placed on paid leave. They'll likely be fired in the coming weeks. The attorney general was instructed to go after private businesses with DEI because we love free markets. And there's been a whole rollback of a bunch of anti-discrimination policies, including an executive order by LBJ after the Civil Rights Act that prohibited discrimination from federal contractors based on race and gender. And I really like that one because it's not even saying you have to hire women or you have to hire Black people or you have to hire X. It's saying don't discriminate. And they're like, no, I feel like you're giving away the game, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. I really like what you said about how DEI can improve certain conditions because if in case folks don't know, I'm actually like a video game reporter and video game critic for the Washington Post, right? And one thing,
Oh yeah, I forgot to introduce you. You're a video game reporter and video game critic for the Washington Post.
Yeah, no problem. But a lot of the DEI discourse and nonsense has infiltrated video games because people think that the DEI is ruining games, and it's like for me, the way I see it is DEI is ultimately a very capitalistic endeavor. Because if you want to try to grow your audience, it only makes sense to try to make a piece of art that might resonate with a lot of people. Now, there are a lot of entertainment organizations, for example, Disney, that really, really are disingenuous in their efforts to represent people. Obviously, everything to do with Star Wars or gay and lesbian or queer people. So that kind of continues to muddy the waters. But ultimately, DEI is a very, very capitalistic endeavor. It's to make more money, and that's what a lot of these game companies are also trying to do.
Right, exactly. And I do think that, like, first they came for the video games and I said nothing. And then they came for our preschoolers, which we'll get into in a sec. And I said nothing. And now they're going for the thing that I think should be covered more, which is wokeness in the military, or at least the right's perception of wokeness in the military. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Um, so I'm not sure. Did you watch Trump's inaugural speech?
No, I tried to avoid everything regarding the coverage. Of
Good
course,
call.
everything about the Elon salute was impossible to ignore, but I certainly didn't watch the speech. So,
Yeah, fantastic call. Well,
mhm,
he mentioned a lot of stuff.
yeah.
But one of the things he mentioned were we need to he's going to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments. Now you hear that, what do you think? Like, what do you think these social experiments are?
Uh, indoctrination of other cultures
They made someone eat like a samosa, It's like
yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
radical
well, yeah,
social experiment.
taco stands in every corner kind of thing, right? So
God, that sounds so awesome.
they're serving tacos on the USS Ronald Reagan now instead of McDonald's.
What have we come to as a country? Ridiculous. Um, so this is not a new thing. Basically, the right's perception is that the military was fine until Biden took office, which we all know the military is like really good at changing, and we don't have a bunch of contracts for weapons that aren't useful anymore because we refuse to change them. It's like you can fundamentally change the military in 4 years, mostly because they're mad that the military didn't overthrow the duly elected government on January 6th. And also, they said we shouldn't have far right extremists in the military, which is really fucked up of them. We all know the Proud Boys are just lonely guys. They're just
Yeah,
lonely
yeah. I
boys.
mean, that's a good way to end that loneliness epidemic is just ship them off into a far off space for no reason by themselves, and with
Wait,
nothing but
wait,
an Xbox 360 to entertain themselves.
wait. You onto something?
Hmm, maybe.
uh, no, but this basically stemmed from critical race theory. You heard about that, right? In like
Yes.
2021. This was an idea launched by Chris Rufo. Chris Rufo, for those who
Mhm,
don't know, is like this he's basically the architect of a lot of these moral panics in this decade.
mhm,
He will often tweet exactly what he's going to do and no one will take it seriously. He's like, we're going to talk about CRT and everyone's going to be scared of this, and then we're going to be able to fundamentally change the education system. And then publications like the New York Times are like, yeah, but did he really mean it?
mhm,
And this is what he did in 2021. He did a whole blitz about critical race theory, which is an academic field about the intersection of race and culture and government and law. And it's not taught in preschools unless you're from the right, and then you think it is taught in preschools.
mhm,
This was spammed constantly until like 2022, like mid 2022. And that's where we transitioned to woke. And then in 2023, we really got into DEI.
Mm.
And that's where the military part came in. So they already started talking about critical race theory in the military. Do you remember Mark Milley's like interrogation in front of the Senate in 2021?
Very vaguely, yeah. Because if you can remind me, yeah.
Yeah, so this was a hearing about the military, completely unrelated, and Matt Gaetz went on this whole rant about how they're teaching CRT at West Point. West Point, for the record, is like a higher education institution. It's a
Mhm.
college to prepare our most like esteemed military officers. And there was a voluntary seminar on white rage. Like 100 students went, completely voluntary. Matt Gaetz lost his fucking mind over it. And Mark Milley said, I'm a white man, but I'd like to understand this concept of white rage. And that was put on Fox like every night for about
Mhm.
8 months. It was painful to watch, first off. But second, it essentially established that higher education shouldn't teach anything except Matt Gaetz's viewpoint. And that's where we are now with woke and DEI. Woke is really helpful because you can apply it to anything. It's not
Mhm.
just an academic theory. It's, someone looks at you wrong or says your joke isn't funny and now they're
Mhm.
woke. But in our military, it's become this idea that women, gay people, trans people who are now banned from the military legally are a part of this DEI thing that they don't deserve to be there in the first place. And I actually, I was planning on going to the Air Force Academy, and I got diagnosed with narcolepsy like right before my graduation in high school.
Mhm.
And let me tell you, like, I mean, you got to be fit, but women can absolutely fulfill these requirements even better than plenty of men.
Mhm.
But we have the guy that's going to be our next defense secretary complaining about this. I
Mhm.
mean, these are the radical woke social experiments. That's how you would describe them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, to give folks my background, so that's cool. I didn't know that about you. I think I did. But for me, again,
I'm
I'm
glad I
I'm from
didn't.
yeah, same here. So I'm from Guam, and Guam is a colonized nation of the United States, heavily, deeply colonized, first by Spain, and then America, then Japan, then America again, and now so much so that the point is that they lost their culture and everything. But I joined the Navy JROTC, and I almost wanted to go because on Guam there's not many opportunities. The military is 30% of the economy. That's what colonization does. It just removes any option for making any kind of other money besides subservience to the colonizer, right?
Right. And I mean, that's the part of the reason, like, we, worship a lot of these ideas of aggression. And that's exactly what Trump is going for. So already he has tried to root out DEI in our military. He's banned trans people from serving, which Biden had reversed, but now that's, I don't know what you call a double reverse, but we're back to that. He's going to reinstate all soldiers who were relieved of duty for rejecting the COVID vaccine with full back pay. And he's going to purge woke generals, including the first woman to lead the Coast Guard and I think any branch of the military. But she's already out. So this is happening, and this is not a plan. Like, it's so clear. This isn't a plan to eliminate wokeness from the military. It's making the military an arm of Trump and Trump alone.
Mhm.
And like, Constitution and country be damned. How does that sound to you?
It doesn't sound like the military really wants the best kind of people, if that's the case, so many people want to join the military, I mean, like, don't they want as many people as they could to sign
Yeah.
up,
I mean, if
isn't it,
anyone's
isn't that in
supposed
the
to be
military self-interest?
too, we know trans women belong in the military.
Yeah,
The most badass character in there.
yeah, yeah. Squid Game too. Hello,
Yeah,
yeah, Hyunju, yeah, oh my god,
yeah.
spe-
I
spe-
had such a crush on her.
special efforts, yeah, I love her. I was like, you are pretty, yes.
Yes, you are. Um, but would it make you feel better though if I told you like this isn't just trying to dismantle wokeness from just the military, it's other things. Would that make you feel good?
Yes, yes, might as well the blanket all the way, right?
Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
gonna do something, do it all the way.
Hmm.
Um, but he's not doing it alone. Like, as we know, we all need a friend, and Elon Musk is that friend for Trump. Um, have you heard about Doge?
Of course, I have.
Are you familiar with Doge?
The meme, yes. Rest in peace to the
Oh,
original
no.
dog,
No,
right?
not
But
that.
yes, I've been trying to avoid as much information as I can about Doge as well. And
Honestly,
it's
fantastic decision.
infuriating to see it on the headlines of the Washington Post.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Um, So this is like Elon Musk for pretty much all parts of his life. His promises, to say the least, often go unfulfilled, or are maybe a little late. I mean, we remember the Cybertruck release date. Um, he promised when he started Doge to cut $2 trillion in spending, and now that number is down to 500 billion. But those cuts seem to be coming from, DEI, of course, but also programs like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, education, ironically, veterans benefits. Like, as a concept, this entire department is just wild to me. Particularly, let me ask you this. Do you know who's going to work there besides like not Vivek Ramaswamy?
I'm not sure. No,
Yeah, me
not a
neither.
Vivek is gone. Yeah, he's been out. He's been put out. He was too DEI, right? So there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, he was
But
too
like,
woke.
we know that these cuts are like not helpful, and that they're just the only reason they're not happening is because, or these ones that's going from 2 trillion to 500 billion, is because those cuts wouldn't line Musk's pockets.
Mm.
And we know that like because we have eyes and brains, but also because people that are much smarter than me, such as Senator Elizabeth Warren, have actually done the work themselves. Today, there was a piece in Time that talked about her letter to Elon Musk and Doge with a bunch of really common sense cuts that don't negatively affect the American people, that don't eliminate our entire Department of Education. And it actually gets up to that 2 trillion number. So I would love to welcome Senator Elizabeth Warren onto the stream.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for joining us.
I'm
Hi, Senator.
delighted to be here with you.
You were actually my graduation speaker at GW in 2020.
Whoa,
I
remember
know.
that. Great graduation.
It was. And you got 2 classes in one because of the pandemic.
I did. It was a double, and I stood there and shook all the hands too. Lots of fun.
So, Senator, I do want to ask, are these cuts that you proposed, are they about wokeness? Are you cutting wokeness?
So, no. I tell you what, let's start with soap dispensers.
Yes.
Okay?
Tell me more.
This is serious stuff. You ready? All right. And just to keep the math easy, I want you to envision a soap dispenser, Target, dollar store, costs 99 cents.
Okay.
Okay? That's what
Got it.
you would pay for it. All right. That's in box one. Box two is exactly the same soap dispenser. Totally the same. Nothing changes. Only now they're selling it to the federal government.
Okay.
Right? The company.
So it's probably 99 cents still.
Yeah, exactly. How much do you think they want to charge the federal government for that 99-cent soap dispenser?
Probably a reasonable amount. What do you think, Jean?
Maybe 10 cents. Maybe let's go.
Oh yeah, come on, give me a number. Give me a number. What are they charging the federal government? Because
spoilers,
buy in bulk, right? So that's going to be special price.
I'm going to guess $8,000.
You were very close. $7,486.
That seems like a deal.
99-cent soap dispenser. And we've got examples like this everywhere. A clip that costs less than a nickel is going for a little over $70. And the reason I identify this is I want you to understand this is in the Department of Defense. That is half of the budget we pass every year. And it is the only department in government that has literally never passed an audit ever.
Why?
Okay, still can't. They can't even find the money that they have spent and been allocated. Never passed an audit. And sprinkled throughout are all of these just disgusting price gouges because the whole method for how the federal government buys is just so lousy. No business would ever survive doing this. So here's my proposal to Elon Musk. It's to say, you really want to cut 2 trillion? Oh, I'm sorry. That was 2 trillion. That was 1 trillion. Oh, that was a $500 billion, right? You really want to cut spending that is inefficient. How about let's start over in the Department of Defense. Let's put some basic safeguards on contracting and say to these multi-bazillionaire, billion-dollar defense industry companies, no, we're not going to do things the same old way. And what does it save? About $200 billion over the next 10 years. So that's the defense industry. You want another
why
one?
didn't Elon Musk think to do that?
Well, I've at least suggested it to him. Let's try another one. Okay, you want to do one more? Okay, So you've probably heard about Medicare. Your grandparents probably get their health care through Medicare. It's actually a pretty good system. About half of all Americans have been sucked out of Medicare into something called Medicare Advantage. Now, it is an advantage for the private for-profit insurance companies that run it. So how do they make a profit? Because they have to provide exactly the same services as Medicare. That's what it says in the contracting. Well, what they figured out is they can manipulate the billing, and they can simply deny coverage. They can just tell your grandma, sorry, we're not covering your heart pills. They can tell your grandpa, nope, we're not fixing your knee. It's just too bad. They save a lot of money that way, especially in the hopes that you will eventually just give up and not get the medicine, not get the surgery, or pay for it yourself. So the estimate is in 1 year alone that Medicare Advantage bilked the taxpayers about $83 billion. That's 1 year. Now, another independent group, nonpartisan, looked at it and said, you are so wrong. Nobody built taxpayers out of $83 billion. It was actually $140 billion that you squeezed out of the taxpayers' pockets. So I'm just saying, in this letter to Elon Musk, go for the $2 trillion. You can do that, baby. I mean, look here on Medicare Advantage alone, over 10 years, that's over
Senator,
$1
I do
trillion.
have to ask, do you think he'd actually do it? I mean, he's not a big fan of yours, and it's not like they have a great penchant for compromise here.
You know, this isn't even compromise. To me, this is just plain old good government. But let me tell you what it takes. It takes courage, because you have to be willing to take on the defense industry guys who are making those billions of dollars. You got to be willing to take on the insurance industry guys who are making the big bucks off this. I mean, so this is really kind of fellow billionaire corporations. You can save a lot of money if you're willing to put the billionaires and the billionaire corporations in the box and say the American taxpayer is not going to keep feeding you at the levels you've become accustomed to.
But is that really realistic with, I mean, it seems like we're going firmly down the path of an oligarchy. How are we supposed to enforce that?
Well,
or get them to do it in the first place?
So good question, but let me put it this way. This is part of how we demonstrate which way are they. I mean, if he really wants to cut money and make a more efficient government, here it is, baby. I gave him 30 different items he could do. If instead this is all a light and sound show that will disappear, if this is all about just making sure that government continues to shovel buckets of money into Elon Musk's companies, if this is just about playing politics and making sure that little children don't have access to a hot breakfast, if those are the goals, then it should be pretty clear. Because the one thing that I'm damn sure of is that when I've got a list of 30 things that would produce more than $2 trillion in cuts, and if Elon Musk won't pick them up and use them, don't tell me it's because it's not possible to cut government. Don't tell me it's because the only way we can cut government spending is to take away healthcare from little kids and not let them have a good meal. No, then what it's really about is the oligarchy. It's the billionaires protecting the billionaires.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, I just hope that other Democrats are willing to stand up to that.
You bet. That's what the fight's all about. Look, I'm feeling energized. I know this is hard. I know it's only day 4.
Yeah.
But there's a fight to be had here. And there's a fight to call out these people and say, you made these big promises before the election, then deliver on your promises. And if you're not going to deliver on your promises, then our job is to call out the betrayal.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Senator Warren. We don't want to take up too much of your time,
You bet.
but
Anytime.
good
Thank you
luck.
so much, Senator. It's a pleasure to
Okay.
meet you.
I don't know. Do you think you'll do it, Gene?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like in my head, I'm thinking about how Elon just fired so much of his employees in X just randomly, and so it really does feel like that. That he just wants to take a cleaver and just cut off things and not think about things strategically like soap or standing up to defense contracts or whatever, and again, that reminds me of my time on Guam, because I was a military reporter on Guam for the Pacific Daily News,
I don't know that.
and my publisher was a extremely right-wing publisher, and he would always push me to write stories about how all of these wonderful expensive contracts are being doled out to companies and his friends as well, including janitorial contracts and everything like that. And these are very, very expensive multi-million-dollar contracts, and it's hard to break that system. And this was back in the early 2000s. I'm old. I'm 43. So just think about how deeply embedded that kind of mentality and that system is now across the federal government, and that's a hard thing to shatter. But it's amazing that Warren and her office were able to identify so many of these things. I'm kind of in awe of that work, actually.
I mean, honestly, if I can think of anything Elizabeth Warren is like really good at, it's to meticulously go through things and list them a bunch of times.
For
Which,
sure.
as a fellow list girly, I appreciate
that
it.
has been her thing, yeah, for a long time too. So, well, I don't know why I'm surprised.
Well, I think that we know a lot about DEI, wokeness in the military, what that money's actually going to. I mean, I think soap dispensers are woke. What do you think, Jane?
Yeah, especially the ones that are very foamy. It's like
Ooh,
that.
those ones are so good though. That's worth $8,000.
Every time it happens, I'm like, yes.
Yes. Not the ones that just like squirt it out and it's cold and it's like gets everywhere. It's
No,
not
no,
great.
no. The big foamy ones. It's like
Also, soap bars? No, thank you.
no, thank you. Not at all.
No, who does that? Who does that? Disgusting.
No, gross.
Well, this was planned to be like a 30-minute show, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, Gene, but thank you so much for joining. And thank you everyone for watching. I'll have more than 30 hours to prepare on top of, existing next time. So I think it'll be a good time. I'll thank you so much for joining, Gene. I love you
Thank you
very
so much,
much.
Kat,
And
for inviting
please send
me.
me pictures of Jack. I'll send you some of Heater.
Yeah, we'll trade orange cat pictures. I'm surprised
Orange
Jack
cat
didn't show up here
pictures.
too. So yeah. But thanks so much for
All
inviting
right,
me.
y'all.
Thanks everyone for watching too.
Thanks for watching. Oh, Gene, where can we find you?
Oh, I am just on just Google Gene Park, Washington Post, and you can read all of my articles there on my author page. Great way to help me if you want to help me as a reader or subscriber. Specifically, if you actually hit subscribe on one of my articles, I literally get credit for it in the back end. I see it in my back end analytics. My bosses see that and they love it. So if you really want to support me specifically and not just the general Washington Post, if you have a problem with that, just go to one of my articles, and if you hit the paywall, hit subscribe, and you'll be helping me out a ton and keeping me employed. So thank you so much.
It's so cold. My nose is running. Sorry. But yeah, go help keep Gene employed. And for me, all my links are everywhere. But also, if you want to support my work, I have a Patreon where you can see a picture of my cat every single day for just $1 a month. And she's very, very cute and very, very sweet. And it's a great time. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.